apart from the large scale movies, which Hollywood was always very expert at because they do have a lot of skills there. And sometimes only Hollywood has the level of skills for some of these super large productions. Really, their biggest problem, and I've said this many times, is that they've lost the ability to make network TV shows. To me, the secret to reviving Hollywood is not movies and it's not streaming. Actually, streaming is what's killed the networks. The networks have to get back to doing 24 episodes per year of some show. The streaming services are killing Hollywood because you get 10 episodes of a show, and even if it's successful, they're not going to do it in another year. It's 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
3 years out, whatever it happens to be. You just don't know. The actors don't know. When you had a successful series, a reasonable successful series, then you knew you had work for X amount of time. And you knew that run, that 24 show run, was all you needed to make a living for that year. So you lived in Hollywood, you lived in LA, and then next year, obviously you hoped for the show to be picked up. And the only way Hollywood is going to resurrect itself, to me, is actually resurrecting the network TV show schedule and start making shows like Knight Rider and Manimal and all the crazy, stupid stuff that the networks used to do. Like, here it is, my next fall preview show. They can't survive doing what they're doing. They've lost their mojo. And when you're doing 24 shows a year, that is a perfect environment for Hollywood because everyone has to be there to do 24 shows a year. That's gone.
It's funny as well watching the ways in which the streaming services are doing everything except learning from the better examples of cable. Because they're bringing in the ad models and subscription packages and things. And I think Disney is launching a channel, quote unquote, a channel, which will play scheduled back-to-back Marvel productions or Star Wars productions and things. So basically what you're telling me is that you have created a thing you have to pay for, which does pre-programming based on shows that have already been commissioned and completed, and you're going to lock people into a contract. So you're doing network, basically. You're doing cable, but without the production philosophy behind it. Why not just go the whole hog and go back to cable? That makes more sense.
Exactly. And I'm saying they need to go back to network because some of the most of the majority of popular shows on streaming are old network shows because they've already got 90, 100 shows. They're already there. They just bang, 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 make them available. And they're super popular. And it makes the money and it doesn't cost them a lot. So only the networks are capable of grinding out those kinds of shows. Magnum PI, Murder, She Wrote, stuff like that. We're missing Love Boat. I mean, I'm telling you, we are.
Discovered yesterday all of the X-Files is currently on Disney Plus, which is great because that means they've got many seasons of it's a Fox production. But again, same sort of thing I imagine is that they are just using something they don't know how to make themselves, rather than looking at how that was made and why it was successful and considering emulating that. They're just sort of pinching from the back catalog and hoping that people will stick around for it.
Now, the only way you make stuff like that, and this was my era, is that you commission 100, like this is each network, commission 100 pilots, pay for them, shoot 20 each, show maybe 3 or 4, 1 or 2 survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only, it's a numbers game, not a quality game. And that is what's been lost. They think they can just do quality stuff one at a time. I mean, the BBC was sort of good at it at one point because the writer would be in charge of the show. They were king of the show. But that was never the American way. They always had committees and stuff like that, writing teams. But it's only ever a numbers game. They have to go back to that because it's brutal. That's how you get 1 or 2 good shows, by commissioning 100 scripts, shoot 20, 2 survive, repeat. And going back to that will also give people work in Hollywood. One of the things that people forget is that most of the people in Hollywood actually made their money living on failed shows. No one talks about that. movies that were commissioned and then never shot. That's where most of the money was. No one talks about that. Well, I'm the only person who mentions this because I was there. I had a friend who was scared to death that one of the pilot scripts that they were commissioned to do would actually go on the air and they'd have to do it regularly.
It's like the producers thing, like we can make more money on a flop.
Well, they just didn't want the tension and the pressure of success, but they were good enough that the network, she was on the approved pilot script writing list. So out of the 100 scripts that were commissioned, she would get 1 or 2 or 10 or whatever. She would write them. Maybe they got piloted, but they never went forward. And she was really happy when those shows failed.
Anyway. It would probably help if you weren't spending like $250 million as well up front, effectively commissioning 8-episode miniseries using Hollywood actors, because then the amount of money just on your overheads before you even started shooting is such that you can't afford to do like dozens and dozens and dozens of potentially failing pilots. You do have to commit to it because of the amount you're spending. And consequently, we were talking about the death of the movie star a little bit earlier. I think the death of the TV star is the understated companion piece to that, is that you don't get many actors who are just famous, big name television personality type people. I can think of 1 or 2 at most who will just pop up frequently in any moderately well-produced show, but that's it. And all the Disney stuff is trying to get the A-list Hollywood actors involved because they think that will bring people along, but it evidently doesn't, because these people aren't stars, they are just the characters they play.
And the other thing you have to remember with television is that you don't have to be a good actor. What you need to do is successfully traverse that piece of glass on the lens, and you are in the just dealing with comedy, because that's really what I spent most of my time doing, is that people are inviting you into your living room, into their living room. You need to be more like the funny Uncle Joe that every Christmas puts a lampshade on his head and sticks a bulb in his mouth, like every Christmas. Like you're dealing with family. It's why bad actresses like on Murphy Brown, whoever the lead, Candice Bergen, she wasn't a good actor, but she was perfect for TV. Ted Danson, he's a good actor, but a good TV actor, right? And these are the people that they cultivated, as you said. That's exactly what you're saying. And I mean, I'm sure it was the same way in the UK. The woman who was the actress in Keeping Up with Appearances, Penelope, whatever the character was. Do you ever see that show, Keeping Up with Appearances?
I've heard of it. But
it's one of my favorite British sitcoms. A woman who is trying to look more upper class than what she is. It's a very funny series. So, but she had a terrific amount of charisma and was a great TV personality. Yeah, we've eviscerated all our TV personalities, right?